The Pittsburgh Steelers buyers at the NFL trade deadline. Mike Williams and Preston Smith coming to Pittsburgh. What does that mean for the Steelers? That's next here on the Bleav in Steelers show. Today's episode of Bleav in Steelers is brought to you by BetOnline.ag. We're already on to week 10 of the 2024 NFL season. If you want to get in on the action, BetOnline.ag is the place to do it. In-game odds, player props, there's hockey, there's basketball. If you want to get in on the sports betting action, betonline.ag is the place to do it. You can head over to betonline.ag to get started. BetOnline, the game starts here. The Steelers finally get George Pickens a compliment, and they make a trade for Mike Williams with the New York Jets. Steelers trade a 5th-round pick for Williams, and this was very much needed for the Pittsburgh Steelers because Van Jefferson not quite getting it done. Calvin Austin still making a name for himself. Roman Wilson, the rookie out of Michigan, hasn't played yet this season due to injury. Scotty Miller, a veteran player. Teams can bracket and put a lot of attention on George Pickens. This helps the Steelers in the passing game, whether it's Russell Wilson or Justin Fields behind center. And the Steelers needed to do something to bring someone in. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be saying, well, what if they would have gotten Darius Slayton, or they missed out on Amari Cooper, which wouldn't have happened in the division, or they missed out on DeAndre Hopkins. What is the price point for each of those players? Because you look at Mike Williams' stats with the Jets and you say only 12 catches, 166 yards, Mark, like only 4 catches in September the 29th. What's going on there? Williams, remember, is behind Garrett Wilson in New York. And then the Jets traded for Davante Adams on October the 15th. Adams reunites with Aaron Rodgers. So again, what is that price point for the Pittsburgh Steelers? Adams goes to the Jets in exchange for a 2025 conditional 3rd-round pick that eventually could become a 2nd-round pick if Adams is an all-pro or active with an AFC Championship game or Super Bowl. So the conditional pick, a higher premium for a player of Davante Adams' paying price. Darius Slayton as well, saying, Mark, the Steelers could have gotten Slayton. He just put up 100 yards against Pittsburgh the other week in prime time. What was the price point is the question that you have to ask yourself. What would the Giants have wanted back? Because the Steelers only send over a 5th-round pick, and they're going to pick up Williams' remaining contract, which is $627,000. $627,000, a little bit north of that. Guaranteed. Amari Cooper to the Bills. I'm going through the price point of each of these players. Cooper to the Bills was a 6th-round pick. The Browns got traded away a 6th-round pick in exchange for a 3rd-round pick and a 7th-round pick. Hopkins to the Chiefs was a conditional 5th-round pick that could be a 4th-round pick if the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl and if Hopkins plays 60% of the team snaps. Deontay Johnson to the Ravens. Pick swap, Baltimore sending a 5th-round pick to Carolina for Johnson and a 6th-rounder. That was a really cheap price to pay for Baltimore, but character issues, locker room concerns from Deontay Johnson's standpoint. Remember, the Steelers play the Ravens twice this season, so we'll see what Deontay Johnson can do against his former team in the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bengals also upgrade at the running back position, too, trading a 7th-rounder for Khalil Herbert. The Ravens also get Tre'Davious White, the 2-time Pro Bowl cornerback. So my point being is this. There were a lot of other teams that were buyers at the deadline, and Pittsburgh had to do something to get this offense right and to provide another target so teams can't just bracket George Pickens play after play after play after play. Someone who consistently can make plays on the outside. And guess what? If it doesn't work, Williams is only under contract for this current season. You can go and explore your options in the offseason, but at least the Steelers did something. If you are watching this, what I want to know from you in the YouTube comments, was there another player you would have rather the Steelers targeted? But then also ask yourself, how much would you have been willing to give up to acquire that player? Whether it was Darius Slayton, I know Cortland Sutton was a rumor out there. DK Metcalf was a name that was out there. There were a lot of names 4 receivers that were tied to the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they end up with Mike Williams when the dust is settled on Tuesday's deadline. And Omar Khan wasn't done. The Steelers also get Packers edge rusher Preston Smith for a 7th-round pick. To me, this just provides depth at this position, given that Nick Herbig is coming back from a hamstring injury. Alex Highsmith has battled injuries, and you want TJ Watt playing his best football on the back half of the season. Watt has probably had to play more defensive snaps than the Steelers want at this point in the season. And it's not that you don't want the guy who is the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year on the field at all times, but just to make sure that he can stay fresh, he can stay healthy, because the Steelers absolutely need TJ Watt on the field this late in the season. But veteran player in Preston Smith, and again, another guy where on his current contract for the remainder of this season, and we'll see what happens in the offseason. But to me, this just provides depth at a position where you're a little bit banged up right now when it comes to the edge rushing position, just considering Nick Herbig coming back from a hamstring. You don't want to rush that back. And what I mean by that is a hamstring, really the only way for it to heal is rest and recovery. The only way is just rest in time for a hamstring. I'm not a doctor, but you don't want to rush Herbig back too soon to where then he re-aggravates the hamstring, and then you're stuck with both Watt and Highsmith. And Watt and Highsmith are great players, great, as good of an edge rushing duo, maybe the best in the NFL, but you got to have depth at that position. That's why you go get Preston Smith, and you upgrade a defense that's among the NFL's best. And so your buyers at the deadline, you go get a receiver, you go get in Mike Williams, you go get Preston Smith, and we'll see what happens against the Commanders this weekend. Here on Bleav in Steelers, we've got guests coming up later this week. The episode is going to be out on Friday, getting you ready for Steelers and Commanders for Sunday. Commanders, also buyers at the deadline. Marshawn Lattimore, 4-time Pro Bowl cornerback. I don't know that he'll play because he's dealing with injury. He did not play in week 9 for his team, the Saints, before he got traded. But the Commanders buyers as well, a team that is atop the NFC East headed into this weekend showdown with the Pittsburgh Steelers. My name is Mark Bergin. Thanks so much for listening and watching to the Bleav in Steelers show. Quick trade deadline reaction. Again, we're going to have an episode out to get you ready for this weekend's game. Also have post game some point over the weekend to break down what happens in the Week 10 matchup between Pittsburgh and Washington. If you listen to this on Apple or Spotify, do me a favor, leave a 5-star review on YouTube. If you haven't already, folks, hit that subscribe button. Again, my name's Mark Bergin. I'll see you later this week here on the Bleav in Steelers show. Until then, take care. It's so long, everybody.